It had always puzzled me since the Benghazi business came up in 2012, how it was that these guys knew so much about the movements of the U.S. ambassador in Libya. They knew that he was not going to be in the capital city in his embassy in Tripoli, but he was going to be in this ramshackle diplomatic compound in Benghazi. And they seemed very well informed. And if you recall at the time, a lot of people were storming U.S. embassies and seizing U.S. embassies. They also seemed very well informed. And it turns out among the emails that Hillary Clinton sent on her unsecure server, we are almost 100% certain that the emails going to this server were being read by America's enemies. 6 paragraphs into a New York Post story, Paul Sperry writes that among the classified emails that were sent to Hillary's server in this guy's toilet in an apartment in Colorado were a 2011 message from Clinton's top aides that contains military intelligence from the United States Africa Command, along with taken from satellite images of troop movements in Libya, along with the travel and protection plans for Ambassador Christopher Stevens, who died on the night of Benghazi, and Hillary lied over his coffin, and blamed it on this schlub video maker in Los Angeles, who was subsequently tossed in jail, and the authorities sent more firepower to arrest the no-name schlub video maker and toss him in the county jail than they had guarding Ambassador Stevens in Benghazi that night. And we now know from what intelligence officials have gone through in Hillary's emails on this insecure private server that the travel and protection plans for Ambassador Christopher Stevens were among the topics that Hillary Clinton talked about on these insecure emails. Whether or not America's enemies knew all about Hillary's insecure server, we don't know. But we do know that America's allies knew about this insecure server because they didn't want to use it. For example, David Miliband, who was then Britain's Foreign Secretary, in November 2009, he had something classified that he wanted to send to Hillary Clinton. Now, he had her email address because he was the British Foreign Secretary, so he could have passed it to her directly. But instead, he sent it to Huma Abedin on a State Department email address because he said, quote, it was classified information that he doesn't want to send through the system, unquote. It was for her eyes only. It was about Afghanistan. It was super top secret, and he, quote, didn't want to send it through the system, unquote. So we know that America's allies knew she had this private server, and they didn't want to use it because they knew it was insecure. And we now learn that among the many things that were sent through this insecure server were the travel plans for Ambassador Christopher Stevens. And we could ask him what he thinks about her putting his travel plans on an insecure server, but the problem with trying to do that is he's dead. He was her friend, and he's pushing up daisies. And that's why this stuff isn't small potatoes. It ought to disqualify her from public office.